Skillup's review of Gotham Knights, and he's titled this, I do not recommend. I'm kind of panicking a little bit because I was looking forward to this up until I saw a trailer a month ago, and then I saw his preview of this, and I'm somewhat worried.
This video is brought to you by Nvidia and the brand new MSI GP6612UX laptop, one of the sleekest, most feature-packed laptops to sport an RTX 30 series GPU. Click the link below or stick around to the end of the video to learn more.
Learn more, please!
Gotham Knights. Okay, so as you can tell from the title, I'm not recommending this one, but I want to couch that. Sometimes when I don't recommend something, it's a hard no, like Dungeons and Dragons or Saints Row, where I'm like,
dude, the new Saints Row and Dungeons and Dragons were such garbage.
For the love of God, do not spend your time or money on this. Gotham Knights is a soft no. Gotham Knights is definitely going to please some people. I think if you want a pretty straightforward comic book action,
God, this looks so awful. Punch, punch, dodge, punch, punch, dodge, punch, punch, dodge. There has to be counter moves in fighting games like this, or the combat sucks. Look at Shadow of Mordor, look at Shadow of War, Max Payne, Batman. These are incredible games because you have the counter button. If all you've got is a dodge, that means it's a solid moment of time where you're doing nothing but moving. It's boring to look at, cool to watch for the first 5 hours, but even 5 minutes maybe. Not even 5 hours. Oh, I despise. I love Spider-Man. The combat would be improved tenfold if they'd add a counter button. And all they've got is a goddamn jumpy roly-poly out the way, and it drives me nuts. That's the game from the trailer, it is. What happened to the lighting effect, the lighting graphics and effects? It looks like some cheap MMO. Oh my god. A very negative day. You don't recommend the Pico headset and don't recommend Arkham Knights. Listen, okay, we're going to be looking at some cool stuff that we do want to recommend, that we do like soon. It's going to happen soon.
Action game starring the Bat family and a host of classic Gotham villains, then this will deliver that, absolutely. In particular, the distinctiveness of each character, both narratively and in terms of their gameplay, goes a long way to making Gotham Knights feel meaty enough. Like there's enough here, even with all the glaring issues, for quite a few people to be satisfied with this.
I struggle to believe that.
For me, personally, Gotham Knights was death by 1,000 bat cuts. I started out really enjoying it, to be honest with you. It opened,
I tell you what, that looks good.
Strongly with Batman passing the torch to his proteges after his death. The open world stuff has...
So he didn't die. So Batman's not dead. Because he passed... Is Batman dead or not? No one will explain this to me and I'm starting to get mad.
Some interesting ideas that are working well, and I was keen to see how they'd evolve. The combat feels simple but good enough, and I was looking forward to it becoming deeper. The gear system was not a thing that I had to engage at that point, so that was helpful. So, in those opening 3 or 4 hours, I was having a good time, but unfortunately, all of the promise inherent in each of these things goes absolutely nowhere. Trapped in a game structure that actively reduces your enjoyment at every turn, a set of open-world activities that lack imagination or diversity, and a combat system that starts to completely break down as new, more frustrating enemy types are introduced. And the gear system is laughably bad.
I wonder, right? I wonder if they've done that thing they do in games where men fight men and women fight women. No, there are men on the ground here. Okay. Oh, wait, please.
System that starts to completely break down as new, more frustrating enemy types are introduced. And the gear system is laughably bad, like Avengers level bad, for real. And as I was playing this, I was like, what's going on here? Something's weird about this. Its structure doesn't work, its gear system is terrible.
Oh my god, look at the... I understand that we're listening to a review, but every now and then I'm seeing something that's so unbelievably shocking that I need to talk about it. First of all, he's got status effects above him, because you can do cold or poison or fire damage, I'm guessing. He's got a little symbol there to say, oh, he's kind of scared, so he might run away, or that means he's a big guy. I don't really know. There's a level system to the enemies, which is one of the dumbest things that you can do in a game like this, unless it's something like The Witcher. The Witcher can pull it off. If you're not The Witcher, then shut up, pack your bags, go home, lock the door, draw the curtains, pour yourself a tea, sit down on the sofa, and watch about 300,000 hours of game development and game design videos on YouTube, because even watching them on YouTube is going to teach you something. Because me, as not a game developer, can tell you easily that a leveling system to enemies in a game where I'm smacking the shit out of them with batons, with batarangs, with... Dude, if I can shoot you in the face with a gun and you live because your level is 3 levels higher than me and it's not an MMO, I need you to stand up at your desk. I need you to turn around. I need you to take a right and walk down the hallway. Say hi to Sandra as you pass by Sandra. Hi, Sandra! And then you're going to go left and into the bathrooms. I want you to walk over to the sink in the bathroom, place one hand on one part of the sink and one hand on the other, and then look up into the mirror. I want you to just say, I'm a stupid prick, over and over again, because it's the dumbest thing that you... It makes me... Dude, this is what made Cyberpunk 2077's combat so unbelievably shit. That I could shoot someone in the face with a sniper rifle that's 350 damage and has homing bullets right in the face and he loses 10% health! Oh, it's so dumb!
What's going on here? Something...
I don't know if you can tell, this shit makes me so mad because it's such stupid game design and people keep repeating it and they don't understand it is stupid and people keep buying it. And the bigger problem is that children play these games and they grow up with this becomes normal to them and it's dumb! I'm calm.
Something's weird about this. Its structure doesn't work, its gear system is terrible. What are all these weird currencies I'm collecting? So much of this seems like the stuff you'd put into a live service game, but it's not. It's not a live service game. It doesn't have any in-game spending. So what's the deal? Now, I'm not one for conspiracies, but I wonder if the flop of Marvel's Avengers forced a hard pivot in the way that this game was being designed.
Probably.
Because many of its elements feel like leftovers from a live service model. The health of enemies, the gear rarity and stat system, the mountains of...
He jumped out of the Frelin sky, straight onto his head.
Health of enemies, the gear rarity and stat system...
And he lived! Because he's level 3 and there's an exclamation mark telling you that's too high a level for you. I'm just going to catch up for a hot second on what you guys are saying because I can't get... Am I the only one that finds this system unbelievably stupid? It's driving me nuts. Oh my god. Did they remove the counter system from previous games? It kind of looks like it. I'm not entirely sure. All I've seen is dodging. I haven't seen a single counter move, so they might have. They really might have. I only really play the Yakuza games, and I get how the long-ass cutscenes turn off a lot of people, but they have badass counters. The Tiger Drop is absolutely badass. I really need to play the Yakuza games. They all look so unique and so good, and I just haven't got around to them because I know they're going to take over my entire life because it's so long. All the gameplay is different clip to clip. What's going on? You know what, Wally? You are right. It kind of does look like 3 different games. It really does. And done badly. Done badly. 3 games done badly. Whereas Arkham Knight, Arkham Asylum, I'll argue Arkham City was kind of garbage. It was a little bit, I don't know what it was about it. Something was totally off with that game. I didn't really enjoy City. Asylum and Knight were incredible. So surprisingly, Arkham Origins, which was the worst of the 4, the company that made that made this, in case you were wondering. I like as little HUD as possible. What happened to simplicity? I don't know. I mean, this isn't the worst I've ever seen. You've got like 5 symbols here. You've got what you're doing in the top. You've got a couple of buttons over there that tell you what your Y and X are, and RB. But having health bar, dude, you shouldn't need health bars in a game like this. It's just dumb. It really is dumb. I don't need to see how much. Am I remembering this wrong? Did Arkham Knight, Asylum, Origins, or City, I said that in the complete wrong order, did any of them have health bars on enemies that weren't bosses? I remember health bars on bosses in Origins, but that's all I remember. it's probably one of those, if you're seeing this, I'm dead things. Oh, in regards to Thingy being dead, yeah, probably. Maybe they pulled another Batman Beyond where he was dead, but not really, except Batman Beyond was actually really good. Oh my god, Batman Beyond was the future one, right? That one was kind of cool. I loved his mask and his whole suit. I get it, I agree. I've a video of me demonstrating a good counter move. Would you mind if I share it? I won't watch it just now because we're watching this, but you can share it in the Discord. I can check it out later. They've kept most of the HUD minimal, fixed the levels above the dude's head thing in the top left. Yeah, this is just, dude, we're 2 minutes in. We're 2.5 minutes in. I'm struggling. I don't know if we're getting, I really genuinely don't know if we're getting through this. This is tough. This is difficult to watch because this looks so bad. When we've seen it done well. That's the crazy thing. We've seen this done well. This is like if what's his name? If Usain Bolt came to your school or came to your neighborhood or came to your house and he went, hey, I'm going to teach you how to sprint. And then he runs down the street, he shows you all the moves, and you go, oh my God, okay, I know how to sprint now. And then you run like you're playing QWOP. You know that little QWOP game where you kind of like have to move each individual leg? But Usain Bolt just showed you how to run. So how are you running like that? What didn't you get? There's 4 examples of how to do this right. Where was the need for innovation? Nobody was asking for innovation in the Batman games. Nobody. Not a single person in the world. If there's one person that said, I'm so tired of the same formula, straight up, put that person into the back of your Range Rover 4-wheeler, drive it into the middle of the Amazon forest, kick that person out the car and leave them. I don't want them in society. They don't understand what perfection is. Arkham Knight was perfection, barring the bugs. Oh my God, this is just, it's horrible. If you want the game to be hard, make them hard. Yes, dude. I've always been a staunch, I think is the word, believer that the way you make a game hard is you make the player character more weaker. You make them weaker. You lower their health. You don't lower the amount of damage they do. You do not raise the health of the enemies. Just because I need to punch you 3 times instead of 2 doesn't mean you're harder to kill. Just because I die in 2 hits rather than 5 does make that a harder experience. That's how you make games harder. Deus Ex, I think it was 2003 or whenever that one came out, had a realistic mode in it, where you could kill almost everyone in 1 to 2 shots, and you could be killed in 1 to 2 shots. How were they getting it right in like the year 2000, and they still don't fundamentally get this? And the crazy thing is that the people that are designing these games grew up with that. So they grew up with realism mode in one of the original Deus Ex games and went, nah, I prefer to smack the X button. You know what I think it is? I think controller companies and games makers have some kind of secret deal where they want you to burn out the X button on your controller, to smashing the shit out of it. Dude, I've not played this video and I've talked longer than I have watched this video so far because it's so unbelievably just infuriating. Then the high level people can be killed, but it just takes 3 weeks and 3 weeks per enemy. Yeah, like it's so dumb. It's stupid. I played all the Arkham games, including almost all of Origins Blackgate. What was Origins Blackgate? What one was Origins Blackgate? I played Origins. I don't know if I played Origins Blackgate. Was that on PC? I don't even care for superhero games, but I'll die on that hill. The Origins was pretty good. Origins Blackgate was garbage. I don't know if I played that. No health bars for non-boss enemies. Bennett, I knew it. I knew they didn't have health bars in the previous games. Spider-Man walked so Arkham Knight could stumble and hit his head on the curb. Did Spider-Man's enemies have health bars? You know what? I'm trying to remember it, and in my mind, they kind of did, and also kind of didn't at the same time. I'm really not sure. Did Spider-Man's enemies have health bars? They didn't. Okay, they didn't. Spider-Man enemies didn't. Did bosses? Even bosses didn't. No, bosses must have. I do know or I do remember the enemies in Spider-Man being a little bit too spongy for my tastes, especially since Spider-Man's strong enough to lift a car above his head. I reckon that if you can lift a car above your head, you can quite literally punch someone's head off. And maybe you could argue it's Spider-Man pulling his punches to the point that he doesn't cause serious damage on every single hit. That kind of makes sense. I don't know how in like 10 years or 7 years of being Spider-Man, by like Spider-Man, the first game, not Miles Morales, he'd had like 7 years of training, so I don't know how he couldn't better perfect his ability to deal the right amount of force through a punch, but it's a difficult thing to do, and having that kind of range and power is difficult to control. So I guess you could make a canonical and a world-fitting argument for why the enemies are a little spongier. It's because he's pulling his punches because he's quite literally terrified of killing people. But we know that Spider-Man's a little bit scared at times and doesn't want to kill people and makes jokes to cover up his nervousness. So that kind of see I can argue all that. That makes sense. How do I argue Nightwing doing electric capoeira and breakdancing? Origins Blackgate was a 2.5D mobile game that was ported to Steam. Then it bombed, so they cancelled the console ports, which is the opposite of what normally happens. Wow, I did not know that. Bosses had phases, so you could guess where you were at, but didn't have health bars. Perfect. Showing the enemies levels is a mistake in itself. If you had no idea, then it wouldn't rankle as much unless they cheaped out an enemy design by just upping the stats on regular mooks. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Don't show the enemies' health bars. Don't show their health. Give visual indicators. There's absolutely no need to show health bars. There really isn't. Okay, let's continue.
The mountains of currencies I'm collecting, the open world grind, the customization options like skins and color palettes. Charitably, you would never think that these individual elements were relics from an abandoned monetization model, but taken in aggregate, Gotham Knights feels like a deeply compromised product, halfway between the single-player, narrative-driven Spider-Man and the live service-led Marvel's Avengers. Bottom line though, Gotham Knights had a lot of potential, and outside of the story, I think very little of it was realized here. It's full of baffling design choices across every core element, its technical state on PC is pretty wonky, and the absence
Look at that animation, my god.
of 60 FPS for consoles is a true body blow for a title like this.
They released this at 30 frames per second on consoles? Hold on a second. What year is it? How do you release a game in 2022 on a PS5 and an Xbox Series X at 30 frames a second? There's just no way. There's absolutely no way that The Last of Us 2 and The Last of Us Remake can do 60 and this can't. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. If you can't get your engine to run at 60 frames per second, and I say this with all the love in the world, and all the respect in the world, either fire the people that are developing your engine, or repurpose those people and get them to learn a new engine. And I don't say that lightheartedly. I don't say just fire people lightheartedly, because that's a life destroyer getting fired. But if this is the point that your game is at, where you cannot get it to run at 60 frames a second on the engine you're using, then what is happening? What is happening on the development side of things? That in 2022, on a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox Series X, you cannot get this to run at 60 frames. Unless he's about to say it's only on the PS4 and the Xbox Series S.
And without any of the visual upside to show for it, plenty of people are going to have fun with Gotham Knights. I want to be clear about that. This is not terrible, but it's full of some terrible stuff. And even though I was digging the story and characters big time, I just couldn't get past the rest.
Oh God, it really is 30 frames per second on consoles. That's in a combat game that's supposed to have fluid motion. Yeah, that's bad. My only issue with Marvel Spider-Man was QTEs. I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of the few people that actually does enjoy the occasional quick time event. Now, that's with an asterisk. I like quick time events that give you 3 to 2 options or chances to save yourself. If I have played like a zero death playthrough of Spider-Man, let's say, and there's a scene where if I don't hit X, I die. No, that's not acceptable. If I miss the X prompt and then miss the second X prompt and then miss the third one, that's totally fine. If I miss 2 and I die, I can kind of get behind that. I personally think that if you add a quick time event and there's a chance for you to die, it should go into slow motion and you have to drag the button into the spot and then hit it. I really like that kind of quick time event saving feature. It should not be easy to die, because for people like me, immersive gamers who like to really get into it, get into the story, I am Spider-Man, I am Batman. When I die, I quite often, and I'm not exaggerating, I will stop playing that game. I might have played The Witcher 3 for 60 to 70 hours. I died, I dropped it, I haven't picked it up since launch. That's how long it's been, because when I died, that was the end of the story for me. I didn't make it to the end. I didn't get to see all the things or do all the things. Now, if I fell off a cliff and I died that way, I might even still drop the game, because to me, that's the end. I'll come back and play the game through from the beginning, and I might even restart the game that day. But when I die, I'm dead. So when a quick time event kills me, that is a level of frustration that is difficult to move past, for sure. It's been, Gambit, I had no idea there was a 30 FPS lock. And they're saying it's because of co-op. Cool, remove it. Remove co-op then. Remove co-op. If you can't get your game, what would I rather? Would I rather play Batman? Let's be real. What is the percentage of people that have someone to play a game, story game, through from beginning to end with someone? Now, let me give you my example. I'm in a 10-year-long relationship right now. My lady enjoys playing the occasional PlayStation or PC game with me. There is a 0% chance that either I or she would want to sit through an entire game like this in co-op. No, we want to play Gang Beasts. We want to play Sackboys, or not Sackboys, Little Adventures. What is it called? The Adventures of Sackboy. I can't remember what the Sackboy games are called. Little Big Planet. Little Big Planet. It Takes Two. These are the types, what was that prison game? Get Out? We'll play through that. A game like Get Out is a game that you can play through with someone. But a game like this, which involves like a decent level of skill, because it's not just like It Takes Two or Get Out, where it's X, it's A to jump, and then you look around and move, and every now and then you must hold down the right trigger button to move something, right? And when a difficult situation comes up in a game like It Takes Two or Get Out, normally it's slow enough that the person beside them can say, hey, this is what you need to do, don't worry. In a game like this, you could never slow things down and teach someone who's not a decent gamer. So what you're really looking for is enough people that have someone to play with, whether it be a partner, a friend, a classmate, whatever, that are also on at the exact same time, that also both own this game, that also both like this type of game, that also both have the patience to play this through beginning to end. This is a percentage of people so low that there are more of anything in the world. The percentage is below 1%. It's far below 1%. There's absolutely no way. There's no way. There's such a stupid thing to design your game around. And if that's the reason you're saying that you're not putting in a 60 FPS, you're not making it 60 FPS because of co-op, remove it. Add it later. Seriously, these are game design decisions and decisions that they're making that are so beyond understanding. you really have to wonder, like, who is it that's working in these studios? Who is it that's making these decisions? Because the person doesn't play games and has no idea what math is. I'll tell you that. Hire AI to get to 60 FPS. I bet you start seeing AI optimizing games soon. Heard it struggles to hit 30 FPS even on current gen systems. When you're in single player, yeah. Yeah, so how come it's co-op? Last gen versions of this game was cancelled 2 years ago. Really? Oh my god. This is... I've never seen such a blunder in my entire life. Coming from Arkham Knight to this, my god. Let me just quickly check. I'm going to quickly double check. If I go to Arkham Knight, Arkham Knight, I do have Origins Blackgate, 71 gig! Okay, I'm not going to be installing that and playing it just now. I could get that quickly, but I can't be bothered on installing games.
We'll do a quick technical block first. I reviewed this on the RTX 2080 Ti with a Ryzen 7 3700X. I also tried to review it on the Steam Deck, and yeah, it does not work on Steam Deck. I tried to boot it up a few times during the review.
What? I just want to be very clear when he says that didn't work on Steam Deck. Marvel Spider-Man, the one that was on the PlayStation, is now on Steam, and it works on the Steam Deck and is fully playable through beginning to end at mediocre quality levels. Like decent. I mean, if you're on a 7-inch screen, it looks decent.
And yeah,
but this
it does not
play.
work on Steam Deck. I tried to boot it up a few times during the review period, but each time it would just crash back to the home screen. No word from Warner Brothers on if and when this might come to Steam Deck, but for now, no deck support. The 2080 Ti is not a 4K GPU at this point. It never really was. As such, I always aim for 1440p with that card, and I could hit it here, but it wasn't great. Native 1440p is out of the question as frame rates are too low and too spotty. DLSS is a requirement, and
I'm sorry? What's this animation as he flies through the air?
It wasn't great. Native 1440p is out of the question as frame rates are too low and too spotty. DLSS is a requirement.
Okay, let's just figure out the physics of what's happening there. He would have... What is the speed he would have to be pulled at by that grapple gun in order for his back legs to be above his head? What? 400 miles an hour? There's no... Oh my god.
And that helped bring things up quite a bit. I tried running the game at higher settings. That didn't work. Frame rate was all over the place. High settings kind of worked, but the fluctuations in the open world were still very pronounced. My final configuration was 1440p, DLSS set to performance, medium settings, and that could get me to 60 FPS, but it's important to understand what that means. There are two settings in Gotham Knights: indoors during missions and outdoors on the streets of Gotham. In indoor settings, the frame rate is very good, staying pretty locked and feeling pretty rad. Zero complaints here, to be honest. That locked 60 is 60. On the streets of Gotham, it's a very different story. No matter which graphical config I tried, including setting everything to low, I could not get this to a stable 60 FPS. It would often be 60, but it would sometimes be 40 or less. And those swings...
Just for... Oh, no, that wasn't Origins Blackgate. That was Origins, that was Arkham Knight that I was looking at. That was 70 gig. Just for comparison, right, so on a 2080 Ti with a 3700X, now that's a good system. That's a really good system. I would say that system, graphics card-wise, is in the top maybe 70%. CPU-wise is, again, in the top 70%. That's roughly where I would put that system. Especially with the release of the 4090 now, the 2080 Ti is in the top 70%, maybe in the top 80, round about there. Now I'm talking in terms of power, where like if you're going back to like maybe the 900 series, a 970 is the top 10% of people, or not the top, what am I saying? It's in the lower 10% of people, or 10% of power. Or I guess a better way of saying it is like a 2080 Ti is a 7 on the power scale, and a 970 is a 1 or a 2, maybe a 2. And then the CPU again is like a 7 out of 10. That's a good system. He's playing this on medium settings at 1440p with DLSS in performance mode and not able to get 60 FPS. With my 3080 Ti and my 5800X, I have to play in performance mode in Cyberpunk, maxed out at 4K, and I get a solid locked 60 FPS. maxed out 4K DLSS performance, 60 FPS in Cyberpunk. And this can't lock at 60 FPS on low at 1440p with DLSS performance. That's pathetic.
Were annoying, especially during combat when you're getting into a rhythm and timing matters, and yeah, it does spoil the experience at least somewhat.
Oh my
It's
God.
not terminal though. I reviewed A Plague Tale earlier this week and I had to drop down to 1080p there because optimization was so bad. Here I was 1440p, medium settings, indoor missions locked to 60, outdoor stuff was wonky. I do think that with some optimization work, Warner Brothers can get on top of this and level it out over the
Look how little damage that kick from the sky did. Oh my God, there are damage numbers. Oh my God, there are damage numbers.
coming weeks and months. One thing to note though was that I was not able to turn on ray tracing. I mean, I could.
Look at the
but it would absolutely
animation.
tank my frame rate. Obviously, 30 series cards are the entry point for ray tracing, and the new 40 series makes it even easier. In terms of overall client stability and bugs, I did get a bunch of crashes, maybe 5, but no bugs. Very bug-free game actually. There's going to be a lot of shit that pisses you off about Gotham Knights, but bugs.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I would rather have a game that crashes than a game that has bugs, because I can quick save my way around crashes, more or less. Which is an immersion shatterer, having to hit F5 every now and then. But a bug is a straight immersion breaker and frustrating. I would argue that bugs are worse than crashes. I would. That's my preference. I think most other people would be the opposite. Cyberpunk runs well because all its functions only go halfway before they bug out. True. There's no sense of speed while you're driving at all. Yeah, none.
Isn't one, which is nice because most open world games are really full of bugs,
And yeah, garbage.
especially at their launch. One important thing to note is that if you are playing this on a console, then
No,
you are
what?
capped
Wait, Bennett. What do you mean? There's no sense of speed while you're driving? You're completely wrong. Look, they've got little lines
Important
that
thing to note is
flicker
that if you are
around the
playing this on a
screen.
console, then you are capped at 30 FPS. This was revealed only last
Like, this is such an easy fix. Change the field of view. That's it. Change the field of view. That's how you get more. Oh God, this is, how do I know this and they don't?
are capped at 30 FPS. This was revealed only last week when Warner Brothers posted the news to a Discord. This
Last
added features
week!
like untethered co-op and their highly detailed open world. Okay, so we'll come back to that point, but yeah man, 30 FPS for a game like this really sucks. Like, I get that each game is built different, I do, but a third-person melee game really benefits from 60 FPS, and not giving people an option for that by way of a performance mode kinda sucks. And it's one of the things that is going to sway at
person's
least
still
a few
alive?
people's purchase decision. Ray tracing is supported on consoles, but 60 FPS is not. That's wild. I'm sorry, but it is.
He's still alive?
Gotham Knights opened up an important discussion about all this stuff on Twitter, with game devs chiming in to explain why 60 FPS is hard. And fair enough, I believe that. And it would really suck if 30 FPS remained the standard.
I'm gonna say something that I think would be very controversial among game devs. A lot of game devs chiming in to say, oh, 60 FPS is hard. Personally, and this might be a little bit rude, and I don't mean it to be, unless you work at a AAA company, you shouldn't be involved in the conversation. You just shouldn't. This is a AAA multi-million-dollar studio releasing a AAA multi-million-dollar game based on one of the highest earning franchises of all time. First of all, why are there developers jumping in to defend a AAA company? Unless you want a job there, I don't understand the logic. And I also, I don't care. See if it is difficult to develop a 60 FPS game. Cool. I will accept that for indie games. See if Stardew Valley only ran at 30 FPS? It's a solo dev. Totally understandable. Oh wait, it runs at 60 and it's a solo dev. Or it used to be. See if... What else can we think of? See when Cyberpunk doesn't run at 60 FPS? Unacceptable. AAA studio. See if any of these games didn't run at 60 FPS? Unacceptable. AAA studios. But if I'm going to play Massive Chalice, indie game, fine. If I'm going to play, let's see here, Danganronpa, okay, cool. It's an indie game. Marauders is, now this is the best example I can make. Marauders is made by a small indie team in the UK. It was in closed beta for a year. It is a Tarkov-like game that I absolutely love. I just started playing it last week. I get a locked 144 frames per second playing this game. Locked. No problems whatsoever. There is no excuse that a AAA multi-million-dollar company making a game based on a franchise that is worth quite literally billions. If every single person that watches this stream, watches any of the clips or videos from this stream, if every single one of us earned £1,000 a day for the next 100 years, we wouldn't even collectively be worth half of what Batman is worth or Batman has made. There's no excuse, and you jumping in to defend it is stupid. And I lose respect for you. I do. I don't, it's, if it was an indie game, I would jump in and say, hey man, be a little bit easier on the dev. Yeah? It's an indie game. There's just no excuse. There's no excuse. These people, I don't know if you can tell, this riles me up. People that jump in to defend companies, like, no, you have to understand that Apple is a very pivotal point of its iPhone development, and bugs will occur because they're working so hard on their next phone. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up! I want you. I wish that I could... I wish there was a reset button on your brain so I could press it and I could put you back into primary school. We could re-educate you because you turned out so dumb. Oh, these people drive me nuts. Why is there not a reset button on people so that we can just put them back to the age of 5 and just try again? Because you didn't, something happened. You bonked your head when you were 5. I don't know what happened to you. What happened? Oh my God. These people that defend companies, as if they're people because they've invested money into them and so they've got some kind of weird parasocial relationship with them and then they have to defend them. No! Stop it! Tear it down. I've had zero issues playing a Plague Tale Requiem, 4K 60 FPS, high settings, DLSS performance, no issues whatever, with a 3080 and 10700K. I would argue that's probably because you're playing on DLSS performance. I would personally expect the type of system you have to be able to do 4K DLSS balanced or even quality. I'm surprised somewhat that you have to have it on performance mode, but then again, it's a newer game with nice graphics, so 60 FPS is 100% required. I don't care how hard it is. It's standard. If you can't handle that, fuck yourself. Go. Okay, got a little bit harsh at the end, but I more or less agree. You might as well ask why so many nitwits jumped in to defend Elon Musk. Dude, the Elon Musk people, oh my God.
Standard frame rate for this coming generation, and the tail end of the last generation gave us performance mode options.
There's no counter.
That showcase just how good it feels to play these sorts of games at 60 FPS on a console. Okay, so let's come back to that highly detailed open world comment I mentioned a moment ago.
Oh boy.
The Gotham City of Gotham Knights is not highly detailed. That kind of label is subjective at best, but it's a real stretch to apply it when we've already seen what truly highly detailed open worlds can look like. Bustling streets of Marvel Spider-Man, the dense foliage of Horizon, the natural splendor of Red Dead 2 and the way it cascades into townships, so teeming with
Yo, seriously, now I don't know this. Did Red Dead Redemption 2 ever run at 60 FPS on consoles? I don't actually know, but my God, that was I've never seen anything like Red Dead Redemption 2. I need to play that through. I got 60% through it and I stopped. I I desperately want to go back to that. I struggled a lot with the controller aim. That's what ultimately really stopped me from going back. The problem is tons of console plebs decide that it's not worth upgrading to the current gen for 2 years now, and then they cry about brand new video games only running at 30 FPS on their 8-year-old console or hardware. Yeah, that's true. A lot, yeah. At the same time, I do have some empathy. Like, these people, like, not everyone has the money to upgrade. So I do have empathy there. You know, forcing people to upgrade to be able to play the newest things at the best quality when your console is... I mean, if your console's 8 years old, when the phone cycle is every year right now for a new Samsung, a new iPhone, a new whatever, I guess the same people will... What companies have to start doing is doing 0% interest purchases on consoles. Almost the same way that phone companies do, though you do pay a little bit extra. I do think that companies should start doing that in order to enable people with previous gen consoles to upgrade. An upgrade path other than outright spending £450 on the disc version, or what is it, 350 or 300 or 400 on the discless version. There should be an upgrade path for people, especially with how difficult things are financially for the better part of the planet right now. RPG is dumb. Having to level up for story is dumb. I agree. In a case like Batman, yes. In a case like The Witcher, no. But I think The Witcher's balancing was almost perfect.
Detail that you swear you could smell the alcohol on the NPC's breath. We've been in worlds like that before, and Gotham City does not count among that selection. In contrast, this Gotham is pretty barren, visually, artistically, and in the people and events that comprise it. Visually, Gotham does have notably distinct boroughs that have their own architectural style. There's a Chinatown, a financial district, a slum, an industrial block. I noticed these when I was moving.
Oh my god, I went to Amsterdam for the first time. That's why I forgot to say, that's why I wasn't here on Tuesday. I went to Amsterdam. I took a mini break with my lady. It's the first time I've left, like gone away in a long time. And they had a little Chinatown there. It was absolutely incredible. It was so cool.
Moving through them, and some of them can look pretty good with some solid lighting effects that punctuate the perpetual darkness that blankets Gotham whenever you're patrolling her. But most of the city doesn't have that distinctiveness. Most of it is just some buildings and some smoke and some neon lights on that smoke. That is the primary artistic flair that Warner Brothers are using to make this feel like Gotham City, and I don't think it's quite enough. I'm desperately trying to avoid mentioning Arkham games in this review because I know at least a few people didn't like that when I did it in my preview. But this is one instance.
Skillup, Ralph, those people are dumb. It's not like the Arkham games are completely different. Like, it's not like you're comparing it to Spider-Man. If your brand new game in 2022 can't compare to, when was Arkham Knight made? Arkham Knight was made in 2015, 7 years ago. If your game, which is basically a follow-up and is in the same series as Arkham Knight, that released 7 years ago, can't visually keep up with it, I think that's pretty fair to compare to. I think that's pretty fair to compare, dude.
Where that comparison is impossible to avoid because we've already seen, explored, and played an infinitely more interesting rendition of Gotham than this one. Even when Gotham Knights is looking at its absolute best, it still looks like a significant downgrade versus the gothic audaciousness of Rocksteady's rendition. The result is that it is significantly less transportive or immersive. It just feels like a city rather than Gotham City. And given how much time you spend on these streets, and given how repetitive what you're doing on them is, the absence of more compelling art design is a major shortcoming. Alright, let's talk about how this open world plays. So there are essentially two games in Gotham Knights, and stop me if any of this sounds familiar. The first is a linear, story-driven adventure where you move through carefully curated missions in distinct locations and square off against classic villains in set-piece style encounters. The other game is a really grindy, really repetitive open-world patrol simulator, where you take to the streets of Gotham to fight the same types of crimes perpetrated by the same types of criminals over and over again. That stuff isn't great, but it becomes significant.
I'm sorry. This is a direct line of sight. This person is less than 20 feet away.
over again. That
Oh
stuff
my
isn't great,
God.
but it becomes significantly worse when you learn that the best parts of Gotham Knights, the story, the interesting missions, some of the most essential and best parts of your character's kits, they are all locked behind grinding this open world and grinding it repeatedly on each and every character.
Oh my.
So the activities themselves are almost...
You've got to grind. Your characters level up simultaneously, but your character's gear has to be got separately. Pick a lane.
always the same. Gotham has petty crime going on that you can locate by scanning the nearby area. You beat up some crooks and then you can interrogate one of them for intel. They'll tell you the location of a premeditated crime which now appears on your map as an icon. These are always a bunch of enemies standing around trying to rob a bank or steal some technology or free one of their buddies from a crashed prison transfer, etc. You kick the shit out of them and that's that. There is one variation on this formula, and it's terrible. This one has hostages where bombs are attached to them. You need to stealth around to free them, and if you get spotted, they start the timers on the bombs. And because enemy health is so high, and because the timers are so low and there's no way to delay them, getting spotted early on means that this is just an instant failure. There's no way to recover. You may as well just peace out, because there's literally no point in sticking around. There is one other variation on the open world mission, and these are investigations.
Hold on, do you see how awful the combat is simply for the fact that there's no counter button? In Arkham Knight, you could more or less cancel, and all the Arkham games, you could more or less cancel every single move that you were going to do. Every single one to immediately counter. And because there's no counter in this, look what happens. Look how many times he's hit.
Them. Getting spotted early on means that this is just an instant failure. There's no way to recover. You may as well just peace out, because there's literally no point in sticking around.
One hit, two hits, immediately takes 2 hits. Bang, bang. Because there's no way to counter them. In the old Arkham games, you'd press Y twice and counter both of them. That's such a stupid decision, man. Oh. I can't believe people are actually complaining about it. What you mean? Oh, about the having old consoles that can't run new stuff? Yeah, people complain about everything. I never complain, though. I voice fair critiques. That's what I do. Not Amsterdam, Netherlands has so much more to offer. Next time, let me know. Blue. Dude, I loved Amsterdam. I can't wait to go back. I thought it was amazing. I really did. There's very few cities I've ever been to that amazed me, but Amsterdam I loved. Once again, you can't make optimization. That's bad developer. Yeah, I mean, I know it sucks to be poor. I've been poor for the vast majority of my life. But I'm not going to shit on a game because I'm trying to use 2014 hardware to run a 2022 game. Yeah, same. But we use something called logic, which is a lot of people sadly genuinely lack. It's not something that's taught in schools. You're taught math instead. So I'm not shocked when people, you know, that's a stun lock garbage. Yeah, stun lock. Getting stun locked in games just is awful. This game looks like garbage, but how does it play? Not well. Gotham as a city was always supposed to look like old New York, European basically. The new city doesn't look European at all. I thought it was supposed to look more gothic, kind of what whatchamacallit, Skillup was saying. Combat would be so much better if there was a counter function. I agree. I agree. That could almost save it. Amsterdam's a big shell of a country. I don't know, man. I really liked it.
On the open world mission, and these are investigations, where you go to a crime scene and have to piece together some clues by reviewing and marking evidence. This one was asking me to find out where a bunch of crooks might be hiding out, and when I solved it, I was like, okay, cool, time to go get the crooks, let's go. But then,
are you joking?
The mission just...
You just hover over each thing and then just press X, and every single thing that you can investigate is highlighted?
Ended. I didn't need to bring them to justice. I was just like, okay, I know where they are now. Good to know.
No.
End of mission. Unlocking fast travel is, so the way you do this is by visiting certain points on the map, and you need to scan these drones that are patrolling the area because apparently they're prohibiting fast travel, and scanning them allows Lucius Fox to disable them. So you kind of just go up to a rooftop, and then you look at them, and some of them have shields, and there's no way to disable those shields, so you need to wait for them to land on recharge pads, and then you can look at them. So the gameplay loop here is that as a hero of Gotham City, you are sitting on rooftops, staring at drones, patiently waiting for them to land. I have no idea how anyone thought this would be fun. I don't know why this is in the game. So anyway, the beat up the bad guys in the streets thing is fine.
Oh, I have no words. How does that make it into the game? How do you make these choices, dude? What is happening?
Easily going to be able to compare it to open world missions in games like Spider-Man or the stuff you might find in open world games like Far Cry or whatever. But the difference here is that combat is not great. And number two, you're really forced into this open world shit well and truly more than you should be. Main missions, for example, are gated behind open world grinding. Oh, we're at a dead end in our hunt for Harley Quinn. Let's go fight 5 crimes and see what you learn. Oh, we don't know where a key witness is hiding. Let's go interrogate 5 mobsters to find out where she's at.
I'm gonna argue this a little bit, right? I kind of don't mind that in between missions you're forced to go into the open world and fight crime, like normal crime. I feel like you can miss out on a lot of a game by just fully doing the story, and this makes you take in a little bit more of the world. Now, in saying that, what I just said applies more to a game like Cyberpunk, where I feel like you can really miss a lot of what's going on in the world if you don't explore the world, and like really explore it. The story missions won't fully make you explore it, won't make you really walk down streets and interact with smaller crimes, stuff like that. But the story in Cyberpunk shoves, like, I felt for the small time I played it, for the 20 hours or so before I put it down the other week, the story felt like it kept rushing me through, and the world felt like it kept evolving faster than I was understanding it. And being forced to go and do some street stuff and all that would have better blended my experience of the world and the story more. In saying that, maybe what I'm saying doesn't fully or really apply to this game. Being forced to go and fight guys that have got nothing to do with anything else. I like, in Cyberpunk, what I wanted was just to be told that I'd get a phone call in a couple of days, and then 2 full or 3 full or 1 full week would actually have to pass in-game for me to get that phone call. And if you don't care about immersion, you can just sleep through until the mission is there. If you do care about immersion, you can walk around the city, go get some food, fight some crimes, help some police officers, stuff like that if you want to. I personally feel that you know, that's how I feel. I should actually look up and see if there's a mod for Cyberpunk that delays story missions a little bit. Don't know how that would work, but yeah. I'm not shocked at this point now how stupid the vast majority of people are. Zero common sense. Yeah, common sense isn't taught in schools as well. The PS4 only plays a brand new game at 30 FPS. I'm outraged. I just don't see how you miss the mark so much when you have a solid base with the other Arkham games. How are they going backwards? I think I said that earlier, and I fully agree. I don't know how you missed the mark so hard with this. I really don't. It is quite frankly shocking. It really is. I'm shocked that you can have the blueprint in front of you, and then you go and just draw a little squiggly house.
Hey, the next main mission is 3 levels higher than your current mission, so go and do some open world stuff so you're not fighting against invulnerable meat sacks. The worst example though, the absolute worst, and I really can't believe they did this, is something called the knighthood system. So, with Batman gone, you're all pretty green in your role as Gotham's caped or uncaped crusaders, and so apparently you have to earn your knighthood status by fighting crime. What does this mean? It means that at the start, your character does not have access to their most important traversal tool. So Nightwing's Fortnite glider, or Batgirl's ability to glide with her cape, for example.
You are
can't
joking.
do that. You also don't have access to an entire ability tree full of really strong upgrades, and you also don't have access to your ultimate ability, which is, yeah, I mean, it's your ultimate ability. It's a big deal. These are really critical things to deny your player at the start of the game, particularly the traversal thing, because let me tell you, it is not fun to get around Gotham City without it. It sucks. And so the first thing you set about doing is getting your knighthood. How do you?
And the traversal looks awful. The animation is, look at the position he's in right now. Look where I've paused. Does this look like a natural position? Look at the angle of his head. His neck is snapped. This, dude, how does this happen?
Do that. The crux of it is clearing out 10 premeditated crimes. That means hunting down petty thugs, interrogating them, finding the crime on the map.
Okay, I'm really hoping he doesn't say this. No, he said you've got to hunt down 10 premeditated crimes. Does that mean you have to do it 40 times? 10 for each character?
Going over there, clearing it out, and doing all of that again 9 more times. But you need to do this on every single character. I switched over to Robin from Nightwing after about 4 or 5 hours because I wanted to use every character during my playthrough. Just experience their kit as I move through the main story, get a slightly different spin on the storytelling, etc. When I made that switch, I saw that I needed to unlock Robin's knighthood as well, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was already over these open world encounters and I just wanted to focus on main missions at this point, but I essentially had to put all of that on pause so I could grind 10 open world missions, otherwise Robin's just not good to play with. He doesn't have his traversal ability or his ability tree or that ultimate, so he's kind of semi-useless until I grind out all of that stuff, which takes 90 minutes to 2 hours probably. I did that, and then I did it again for Batgirl, and then she effectively became my main for no other reason than I couldn't go through it all again with another character. I would have loved to have played through a bunch of the campaign as Red Hood, but that structure completely broke me, and there was no way I could do it again. Gotham Knights has some...
I just want to emphasize what he's saying. This is a professional game reviewer, and in my opinion, the best reviewer, not just on YouTube, but the best reviewer, full stop. Saying that a gameplay system was so bad, or a game design choice was so bad that he could not complete it. That is, he does this for a living. He plays through good and bad games no matter what, beginning to end. This man, and let me just emphasize this, this man completed Biomutant. I made it an hour before I quit that game. He completed it. He could not bear to unlock all 4 characters' skill trees. Wow. Maybe Rocksteady will see this trash and decide to make another game. I hope so. Wait, aren't Rocksteady making... Oh no, it's not Rocksteady. Who are the company that are making the new Wolverine game? I just had an idea. I've just had an idea. I've just had an idea. Oh my god, I've had an amazing idea. Please tell me it's here. Oh, it's not here. That's not it, is it? No. Well, I'm sure I can get it. You can't buy it anywhere. Remember the X-Men game? Wolverine. Does anyone remember that? Wolverine, PS, gameplay. Does anyone remember X-Men Origins Wolverine? This game was absolutely incredible. I might do a playthrough of this. I loved this game. Look at the combat. In fact, let me just double check real quick. This has gotten 1 million views in a year. Jesus. X-Men Origins Wolverine game release date. When was that released? That was released in, let's see here, 2009. April, there it is right there. The 29th of April 2009. Look how good this gameplay is. And I'm being serious when I say this. I genuinely think the gameplay in this is incredible. I loved this. What is that? 13 years ago? Almost 14? Did you just see that? Hold on, let me just show you that. That was absolutely dude, delete. Okay. I'm gonna go here because, okay, well, watch this full fight. This is what gameplay is. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, as he takes damage, his body falls apart. Like, he's missing skin and stuff. You see, this is why. This is why I struggle with the games that are made today like Gotham Knights. And this is why there are no excuses. Because this was made 13 years ago. How do you mess up your game so much that I'm looking that in the middle of a review for your game, I leave to watch X-Men Origins Wolverine 13-year-old gameplay? Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my god. They're all established heroes. It's not like they just started fighting crime. Exactly. So why, going back to this, why do they need to do their knighthoods? I was thinking that. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I feel like it's blatantly obvious that it's extremely impressive for a development team to develop a game that can run at 120 FPS on PC. And still make the 30 FPS mark on hardware that was outdated. You know what? I will give them credit there. If you can get this game running at 30 FPS on the PS4, the Xbox 360, or no, Xbox One, sorry, that is impressive. Yeah, I give them that is impressive. Yeah. But instead, all I hear is baby rage from children. Well, maybe that's just the problem. Maybe they quite literally are children. Maybe that's why you're hearing that. Also, if that's what you're hearing, I would go out of my way to block that kind of stuff. See if you can find keywords that you can block on Twitter if you use that. On a side note, I hate how YouTube requires me to chop every single message into 45 messages. Not okay. Does it? Is there a character limit on YouTube? I didn't know that. I tell you what though, if it's any kind of whatchamacallit, if it's any kind of consolation or any kind of like, well, okay, if YouTube has a character limit and it's making you type multiple messages, the more messages that are sent, the better it is for the YouTube algorithm. So I guess in that way, it's not the worst thing ever, but that's really just for me. That doesn't help you at all. That game was pretty great for its time. It really is. It really, like, Wolverine really was. It was so brutal. Yes. I liked seeing him taking damage and watching him heal. Dude, the first time I saw him healing, I think I screamed out loud. I was so amazed. Oh my god. Low limit, 200 characters. Yeah, that's not a lot, is it? Well, YouTube's been doing, has made multiple updates recently, so it does help stop spam, but I think if that's the way you're stopping spam, your spam system is kind of... the game was so much better than the movie. I didn't mind X-Men Origins Wolverine. It was not a good movie, but I enjoyed it. Send you a link on Discord of me demonstrating a move from a modern game. I will check that out when we're done with this video.
Really cool missions and some cool villains, and you want to be able to charge headlong into all of that sort of stuff. Let me tell you right now, you are not going to be able to do that. Precisely when any case file involving a villain starts to get momentum, the game is going to slam on the brakes by shoving you back into an open world full of very repetitive tasks so you complete them again for the 30th or 40th time. I feel like we've seen this before in other games like Avengers or like Anthem. We hate it every time, and I'm almost certain that most people are not going to like it here either.
Freeze.
You know what's crazy? I was going to pre-order this game. I'm not someone who pre-orders, but because I am an entertaining streaming man, I was going to pre-order this and play it through on stream. And then I saw the preview of this, and I decided that this was not going to be the first full gameplay game that I play through on YouTube. It wasn't happening. I can't believe how much they missed the mark here.
Freeze can make weather now?
Thank you, Roy.
Freeze can make weather now.
The storm is localized around Elliott Center. We need to get there now.
Freeze can make weather now? Okay, let's have a little look here.
I'm afraid.
Where-
My condition has left me cold to your pleas of mercy.
This Dr. Freeze, or Mr. Freeze, was changing the weather back, what year was it this released?
Their bones will turn to ice. Their blood will freeze in my hands. Yes. If I must suffer, humanity will suffer with me.
Yo, the Tim Burton Batman movies are the best Batman movies. Arnold Schwarzenegger was the best interpretation of Mr. Freeze ever to exist. He was fun, he was serious, he was dangerous and scary, he was light-hearted and Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was...
I shall repay that for sentencing me to a life without the warmth of human comfort. I will blanket the city in endless winter. I will turn Gotham into an icy graveyard. Then I will pull Batman's heart from his body.
Oh my god.
Freeze in hands.
He was perfect. He was...
Night. Hell freezes over.
So, Mr. Freeze was freezing shit all the way back in like the 1990s. So why is it that these guys in 2022 are saying...
Storm is localized around Elliott Center. We need to get there now.
Why is it they're saying that Mr. Freeze can change weather now, 30 years later? I'm really confused. Wait, was it 1980 something? Oh my god, and now you'll play through it on stream if it's gifted to you by Warner Brothers, otherwise nah. Dude, I think that if I was gifted this game, I don't know if I would play it. I probably wouldn't. Even if I got this free, I really don't know if I would play it. I really don't. Also, look, this door is shattered and this is the only piece of wood that's come off. That's it. Good door.
Shame that this game's structure works so hard to hold you back from its best moments, because there are some pretty great moments. This is by no means a Guardians of the Galaxy level script, but it's solidly written, particularly for how each of the main characters is fleshed out. Batgirl, or Barbara, is determined but still mourning her father, Commissioner Gordon. Dick, or Nightwing, sees himself the most experienced in the group.
So this is a continuation of Arkham Knight then. Because, spoiler alert for 7-year-old Arkham Knight, Gordon dies in Arkham Knight. So this is a continuation then.
Often stepping in to provide guidance when he can. Jason, aka Red Hood, is regretful of his dark past and angry at the life that was taken from him. And Robin, or Timothy, is
regretful of his dark past so he uses guns to deal with enemies? Okay. It's so sad to hear a game fall so far from grace from your expectations. Yeah.
Just a kid. The dude can't even drink yet, and he has this youthful timidity that he's always working through. Together at the Belfry, you see their stories as the nights play out. They work together to sift through clues and plan out their next move, but they also disagree on things and rub each other the wrong way at times. It's a cool dynamic. Not all groups come together well and are worth watching. Looking at you, Saints Row. But the writers really nailed it here, and it's the main reason why I would actually like to see a sequel for this game, because I was just so down with this group dynamic. It's not just the group thing though, it's the personal stories of each character as well. Batgirl, for example, really wonders who her father truly was, and at various points in the game there'll be little side scenes either in the Belfry or in the open world where she'll explore that. It's an emotional story that links to not only the main storyline, but also the death of Batman, since that grief is still so fresh as well. Each of the main characters have their own personal sub-stories that are worth experiencing, and I'd go as far as to say as they're some of the best parts of the whole game. The quality of the writing extends to the main quest line and the sub-quests involving Gotham's classic villains as well. It's centered on Court of Owls and how their tendrils are firmly wrapped around the throat of Gotham, with the criminal underworld, private enterprise, and the government all working in concert. You slowly peel back the layers of this mystery to discover who's pulling the strings and whose strings are being pulled. It's a satisfying telling, even with the many interruptions and roadblocks that the game's structure throws at you. And I think this will be the biggest reason why more than a few people will, on balance, enjoy this game. I'm sure everyone's going to have their own view on the playability of it, but most people will enjoy the story. I'm all but certain of that. So if you are hella keen on the world of Batman and the Bat family, then there's absolutely something here for you to enjoy.
See, I'm not really keen on the whole Batman universe. I like Batman. It's weird. I like Batman movies. I like all of them. I like all the Batman movies, barring the most recent one, which was unbelievably garbage, beginning to end, absolute trash. I'll die on that hill. Guardians of the Galaxy is in my top 10 games ever. It probably ranks in round about 3 or 4. Hey, Uki, rub each other. Yeah, they rub each other the wrong way. Now that you said that, I see, my brain didn't go there, Uki. My brain didn't go there. No, like, what are you doing, huh? Guardians of the Galaxy is probably, I think, I made a games tier list, and I think it's number 4. It's number 4. It's number 4 on my list of games of all time, and the combat in that is terrible. Okay. The wrong way though. I was excited when I heard they were introducing the Court of Owls. The comic storyline is great. Really? Dude, don't even get me started. Oh my god, don't even get me started on the Batman and you're not my father. Oh. He was... Can I think the Batman, dude, 2004 14-year-old emo kid. That's it. Reminded to check Discord. Dude, oh my god, I'm only halfway through this. We're not done.
The combat in Gotham Knights has been met with a lot of skepticism. From the first reveal, people worried that it looked a little off, a little floaty, lacking in impact, lacking in depth.
Yep.
I do think all of that is true, but before I get into that, I do want to acknowledge what this combat gets right. The highlight for sure are the 4 characters and their different fighting styles and kits. Each one is distinct in the way they move, their combos, their focus on single target or...
Okay, we're gonna do this at the end. At the end of this, I have to do it. I need to show you guys. I need to show you guys Arkham Knight, so you guys can really understand what the good combat was like. In whatchamacallit, in Arkham Knight. I'm just uninstalling some games real quick. I installed a bunch of VR games in order to play on the new Pico 4, which is just, oh no, I'm not uninstalling that, which is just garbage. Let's uninstall that, uninstall this, uninstall that. Right, how much space do I have? Let me see here. How do you check your space again? Is it games? View games library? No, games, no. Steam, settings, in-game, downloads, library, downloads, Steam library folders. There we go. Let's see here. I've got 82 gig free. Okay. Arkham Knight. Let's get that installed. Hopefully this doesn't... If this ends up making the stream stutter at all... Wait, did I show anything there that I shouldn't have shown? Did I show something I shouldn't have shown there? Please say no. Luckily, you can edit streams on YouTube when you're done with them, which is pretty cool. I don't even know what's going on. Just popped in and heard rubbing things. We're watching the review of... Oh, she was talking to you. Thank God. I thought I showed something I shouldn't have shown. We're watching the review of the new Gotham Knights game. Let's see. Right. We've got Arkham Knight installing. I'm going to show you gameplay of Robin, Nightwing, Red Hood, and Batgirl. All of which are playable in Arkham Knight if you didn't know, and we'll watch that in like 13 minutes.
On melee combat or ranged, on aerial attacks or stealth. Their more advanced abilities also provide utility to your buddy while you're playing in co-op, like Batgirl for example, who summons a little healbot drone that will both damage foes and heal nearby allies. The overall combat model...
I'm sorry, did that woman just put blades straight into her chest and then she just stands up?
Damage foes and heal nearby allies. The overall combat model is not deep or fleshed out, and at times it's really fucking frustrating, but it's definitely helped substantially by being able to switch between 4 different characters, since it keeps things feeling fresh in an experience that would quickly grow stale otherwise. It's also relatively easy to make that switch, at least after you've unlocked their knighthood, since all characters level up equally and the gear is really cheap to craft, and talent points are also unlocked across all characters. Outside of all of that, combat can feel pretty good when you're fighting against more basic enemies at your own level. At that point, you actually get to fight, and the enemies aren't doing annoying bullshit, and they don't have way too much health. It's when fighting these very select number of basic enemies that the game feels pretty good. Problem is that most of the time you are not fighting them. You're fighting massive...
I'm not gonna lie, the dodging animation is really cool. The rolling animation is really, really poor. Really poor. I'd love a superhero game where it isn't a already established heroverse. Same. I doxed myself. You haven't watered your beard today? I did! I shaved and watered. I did indeed.
Meat sack heavy, so you have to beat on for so long to bring them down, and they have the same 2 attacks that they just spam
Twice.
over and over again, and then you just do the dodge thing that you've done a million times before, and then you continue pummeling them for another 15 to 30 seconds until they eventually hit the mat. The heavies are a massive drag in this game, bringing every combat encounter to a boring standstill when it's time to face them. That's a level 2. You face them a lot. As annoying as they are nothing compared to the Court of Owls enemies known as the Talons. These enemies are so badly designed that, again, it's like one of those things where it's like, how did this get into the game? So these enemies will dodge basically every single one of your normal attacks, 99% of the time. The only way to reliably hit them is with a charged ranged attack, which will knock them over. They'll lay on the ground for 5 seconds, and that will give you the ability to then start beating them up. The problem is that charging that ranged attack is annoying because they have an ability that they spam which executes faster than you can charge your ranged attack, and you just get stuck in this fucking loop of trying to get this ability off but then cancelling it or getting hit by them, and the whole...
See, in the previous Arkham games, you would hit your counter button to deal with enemies like this. There were enemies like this in the previous games. You just countered. There were some that you could not hit. You could use your Batarang. You could use maybe a special, like your Y and B button to use your special takedown. And you could counter them. There was no need to charge up some kind of stupid thing, and even if they dodged everything, you knew how to take them out.
Whole time you're just like, I just want to punch things. I am a bat person. Punching things is what I do. That is my right. Warner Brothers have essentially designed an enemy that is completely incompatible with the way that combat works in this game, and every time you fight them, it is so groan-inducing. There should be more ways to deal with them and more ways to deal with most enemies, and that's a major shortcoming of the combat overall. There's just not a lot of depth here. Combos are so basic, the flow of it all is so sing-song where you just spam the same combo over and over again, and then you use your momentum resources to drop one of your abilities. The abilities are not woven into your combos. There are a handful of unlocks that do give you some more moves during combat, but they're very few and far between and not nearly impactful enough.
Dude, I can't see what's going on half the time.
Just how bad the core controls of this game are. We don't talk about controls anymore because we generally don't need to, but here in Gotham, they are bad.
No way.
The character doesn't move quickly enough when you tell them to. It feels like there's input delay when you play. I plugged in my wireless Xbox controller just to make sure it wasn't anything related.
Or you stunned enemies with your cape. Exactly. Slap me with a flip-flop for making a wrong assumption. The Avengers game had a similar issue. The shield enemies required a charged heavy attack early, but you could easily knock you out of charge. I only played some of the story campaign of Avengers. I actually really enjoyed it. I want to play through the story of Avengers at some point, maybe on stream even, because I actually think that the story in that was good. It was interesting. It was a perspective that I haven't seen before. Now, they've released a show about that character since then, so now it's not a perspective you've not seen before, but still. Hey, Steven, how's it going, man?
To signal interference, but it wasn't. The game just feels really sluggish. Navigating the environment is genuinely difficult sometimes, owing to the way that your character will get stuck on objects like doors or barricades or whatever. There's actually no jump button in this game. You can't just press the A button anytime you like and jump. It's a contextual jump button, meaning that if you're near a railing, you can press A to vault over it, or if you're near certain types of gaps, you can press A to jump over them.
You couldn't jump in the Arkham games either, and that was okay.
The whole world then is designed in this sort of Snap 2 framework, where character movement isn't fluid and independent of the...
You would hold A to run, and holding A would also parkour, as far as I remember.
Environment, it's entirely dependent on what you're jumping to or from. And it's awful. It's so frustrating to try and get your character to make precise movements here. which kind of makes you loath to even try. Here's a perfect example. Here, I'm trying to silently take down this guy below me, and my plan is to simply drop down behind him so I can do that, right? I know I want to drop down, but...
All of the Arkham games had the same issue. All of them. I don't know if... No, I'm pretty sure that Skillup has reviewed the other Arkham games and has played them. But the other ones were the same, as far as I remember. It was frustrating.
At this point, I'm thinking to myself, I bet you something fucks up here. I bet you that when I drop down, some bullshit will go down, because it always does. So here's what happens when I press and hold the drop down button, which should, in theory, drop me down directly underneath where I am now.
That's Batgirl!
Where I am now.
That's Batgirl! Countdown initiated!
Yes, that is what happened, and that is common. And this is one of those missions, by the way, where the hostages have bombs attached to them, so it was an immediate mission failure. And this was actually the last open world grind mission I was doing to unlock my knighthood for Batgirl. So at this point, I was just like, Mother of God, I just want to glide as Batgirl. She has a cape, for fuck's sake. Why are you putting me through all of this? It was a true low point for the game, but unfortunately, one of many.
I am in absolute shock. I think maybe the other Batman games had similar issues. And one of the ways you could fix it, I think in the first game, was you could hang and then drop. But even then, I know the dropping in that wasn't bad. You just pressed B to drop down, and more or less it dropped you right underneath where you were. Oh my God, she magnetically just went to the railing. The Vengeance game, oh, I read that. The other games never did that. Yeah, I've never seen the other games do that. Oh my God. This is atrocious. The cosmetics look kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. I like the customization.
One area where Gotham Knights shines is in customization, and the best part of that is that there's no in-game spending in Gotham Knights. It's a straight-up video game where you can unlock cool skins and color palettes just by playing the game. Love that.
Yeah, because if they released paid cosmetics in this game, along with how absolute garbage it is, this game would not have sold. I'm not saying would have sold little. I'm not saying would have, not made their targets. I'm saying it wouldn't have sold almost completely, full stop. They would not have broken 10% revenue. No way.
And there are a lot of suits, actually. I think 15 per character, with the ability to change their color config and tweak individual components like their cowls,
That's
their
cool.
logos, their gloves, and their boots. You can also customize the Bat Bike's look, all that stuff. It's cool. I like it. Great addition to the game, especially for Bat Family fans. Gotham Knights has crafting, which, when you think about it, makes a lot of sense because Batman made all his own shit. With the help of others, of course, but crafting your own kit is essential to the Bat fantasy.
Yeah, but I don't expect Batgirl, Robin, Red Hood, and Nightwing to know all four of them know how to craft their own weapons, capes, and armor? No. No. The idea that Batgirl, I think, does have the technical skills to make her own stuff. I don't believe that the other three would have the ability. I'm sure there was something where Batgirl in the previous game, or maybe I'm thinking of Oracle. I can't remember who it is, but I don't expect all four of them to know how to make everything.
So let's take a look at how that works. Meet the currency tab, full of weird, gaudy icons for... I don't even know what any of this is.
I've seen better icons in early access, pre-alpha indie games.
Real, I have no fucking clue. It just drops when I play and I accumulate mountains of it. I mean, just look how much it costs to craft an item compared to how much I have. And it's not like I've been farming materials, by the way. I just have all this shit, which again, I don't even know what any of it is. And the balancing of items relative to their cost is completely whack. Like, look at these two items. One of them has better stats than the other, but it's cheaper to craft because it's lower level. So even though the stats are better, it's cheaper. Let's take a look at the stats, by the way. Defense, health, damage, and crit all make sense, but elemental damage resistance? Why would I be gearing for resistance to a certain elemental damage type when I'm playing a single-player superhero action game? Then there's the mods which can be slotted in, and I'm just awash with these mods, and they seem to all do the exact same thing, but just with a slightly different number attached. But that's really par for the course with everything else. I mean, when you get back to the Belfry and new crafting options become available, it's all just slightly better versions of stuff you already had.
I don't
Green
understand.
rarity level 13 bow staff with one mod slot versus a green rarity level 13 bow staff with no mod slot. Okay, I guess. Like, why is this in this video game? Like, imagine Robin, for example. Instead of getting 30 totally forgettable generic stat stick weapons through this crappy crafting system, imagine he got 3 bow staffs, all of which were handcrafted by Batman, bestowed to him but secretly hidden throughout the city, each of which unlocks some new ability or a new combo or something meaningful, something memorable. Instead, we get this shit, just spam filler, the most generic, phoned-in version of a loot game that I've seen since Marvel's Avengers. It adds absolutely zero value to the game, and if you were to just rip it out entirely, nothing of value would be lost. And that's to say nothing of the immersion factor, because this goofy system and this awful UI, I really hated engaging this. As I said in my preview, Gotham Knights is not at all committed to immersing you in an authentic Bat family fantasy. It is, instead, this awkward mishmash of disparate game systems that don't fit together properly and that clash with one another. You've got an open world that's okay, but you'll come to resent it because of the fact that some core character features are hidden behind grinding it. You've got this set of case files that are really fun and really well written, only to have that enjoyment gated behind more open world grinding.
Dude, imagine if you started a Batman game with no cape. Imagine. No counters in that game. Check my video. It's a casual player, me, using a counter that's been around in the Yakuza universe for a long time in Judgment. Okay, we're almost done. Which was the first game with that playable character who uses Kung Fu. Very different combat, but still brawler, so I kind of got it from the start. The counter, though, still there and still just as easy to use. Unbelievable, man, like how they've messed this up. No counters is blowing my mind. I think he's right. I think there's supposed to be an online only game, and they changed course at some point but left the stuff in. Yeah,
You've got a diverse set
I think
of
he's right
characters
as well.
who each play differently from one another, but an awful suite of enemies that sucks the fun right out of combat. And you've got this crafting system which only makes sense in the context of a live service experience, where it's intended that you would grind this game for months, spending money in a cash shop as you do so. True story, I actually had one reviewer message me genuinely surprised that this game doesn't have a cash shop. He was like, doesn't have a cash shop? Why is it designed this way then? Why indeed? I don't have an answer for that, but I can tell you that despite there being some cool stuff here that I'm sure more than a few people are gonna like, I was constantly distracted by all of these baffling, counterintuitive, unnecessary, and unfun design decisions. If you were truly trying to deliver an immersive, narrative-led Bat family action game, you absolutely would not design it like this. For that reason, I cannot recommend Gotham Knights.
What an incredible review. Go to Skillup's channel, give it a like, watch the video through, leave it playing in the background. If you do watch this here, if you can, he more than deserves it. He is an incredible reviewer, the best on YouTube in my opinion, and the best reviewer full stop. I am in absolute and utter disbelief at how awful this game has turned out. With Arkham Knight, Arkham Asylum City, even Origins, which was made by the same company, I don't understand how this turned out so poorly. I'm lost for words. They took the formula and they threw it to one side and made this instead, and I don't understand why you would do that when no one was calling for innovation in this way. And you're not even innovating. You're bringing in other, like, it's not like they tried something brand new to the gaming space. Instead, they just put in a bunch of shit from other games or from other types of games. They brought in a whole RPG aspect to the game when no one asked for it. I can only imagine that it was supposed to be an online game, or they really like the new Assassin's Creed games and they wanted to capitalize on that. But The thing is, no one is making the Batman style of games right now. Name one series right now that's coming out that's got Batman Arkham, Batman Asylum, Batman Arkham Knight type of gameplay with a Y counter. Because the only game I can think of is Spider-Man, and Spider-Man doesn't have a counter button. So why would they not try and fill that space? They could have gone back to Origins and it would have been better than this. Yes, I agree. I think one mistake they've made as well is that they've made the Court of Owls the bad guy. And where Arkham Asylum started and made an amazing decision was the Joker was the bad guy in all 3 of that studio's games. Wasn't in Origins. He showed up in Origins, but he wasn't. But he was more or less the main bad guy, or there in some capacity. They should have taken a main bad guy that was recognizable and put him at the forefront of bad guys. And I don't think it even had to fit the comics or story there. If you wanted to make it more original there, do it. Say it's Bane. You know, make him the bad guy, the overarching bad guy of 3 games. I don't mind that. In fact, I like it. I liked having the back and forth of Batman and the Joker over the course of 3 games. It was brilliant. And that wasn't even the main bad guy you were fighting all the time. And that was fine. You know? I don't know who you would pick. I mean, I'm not a comic book reader when it comes to Batman. But Bane, I wouldn't have picked Poison Ivy. She kind of had a good storyline in Night, and I would have kept it there. Who else could you go for? Mr. Freeze, I would have maybe made him just the main bad guy, but I would have went for a more... I really, really believe that Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze was almost as fun. Here's the thing, and I think a lot of people will say Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze was bad. And if you have that opinion, that's totally fine. That's totally, like, you can justify that easily. But hear me out on this one thing. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze was as fun and as all over the place and as unpredictable and as somewhat predictable and as crazy and exciting to watch and listen to as Mark Hamill's Joker in the Batman Arkham series. That's the one point I'll make, and I think you have to agree. Of all the bad guys in all the movies, who was the one that was most like Mark Hamill's Joker? I argue Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze. And bringing a Mr. Freeze in that same kind of style, even with Arnold Schwarzenegger voicing it, like if you went from Mark Hamill voicing the Joker to Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger, in the brand new trilogy of games, Gotham Knights, you barely need to advertise. You barely need to. Dude, Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be in a game? He's reprising his role as Mr. Freeze? It's going to be a trilogy and he's going to be in them all at some point. I'm sold. I'm in it. Now, I understand that for a new generation of people, not many people, the kids in school don't watch Arnold Schwarzenegger movies the same way that we did when we were younger, right? But I'm sold. I'm sold. And I think a whole generation of people that love Arnold Schwarzenegger would be sold on that easily. And how do I have this idea in 3 minutes of talking at the end of a review, I had this off the top of my head. No one in that studio had the creative ability to think of something like that. That's a great idea. Because you have to think about it from this point of view as well. Even if people hate it, everyone's talking about it. How long do people talk about Jar Jar Binks? That is probably the most talked about movie of all the movies. All the Star Wars movies. Jar Jar Binks. And the casting of that. Everyone talks about that movie. Some people love it. Some people hate it. But everyone talks about it. It advertises itself. Some people would love Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, and some would hate it. It would be the most talked about game this year. Instead, this is going to be forgotten. And that's the gamble, and they lost. in my opinion, Origins was good. Not great, but good. I enjoyed it. I thought they did very well with what they had to work with. Troy Baker, because you couldn't get Mark Hamill. Absolutely. Yeah. It was a good game. It just wasn't nearly as good as any of the other ones. I would say the Origins was worse than City, and I didn't enjoy Arkham City. He wasn't even the main bad in Arkham Knight, but he was there and kept it interesting. Agreed. I absolutely loved the implementation of Mark Hamill's Joker in Arkham Knight. Absolutely loved it. It was amazing. There's one thing you can say about Arnie's freeze. It was memorable. It was very memorable. I tell my buddy that his love of the Batman and Robin movie is a constant strain on our friendship. It's a good movie. It's a great movie, dude. You tell me another movie that here's what makes Batman and Robin the movie so good. It understands what fun is. Name a movie that's come out in the last year that understood what fun is. Really understood it. I'm not talking like it's a children's movie and yay, we're going on an adventure. I mean, actually understands what fun is. There are so few movies that understand it. I loved Batman and Robin when it came out. See? Johnny, I was just saying that if they'd made Arnold Schwarzenegger Mr. Freeze in the new Gotham Knight series and made him the main bad guy of the next trilogy of games, it would have sold out like crazy. Right! That's the Gotham Knights review from Skillup. Go over, like and subscribe to him. He's absolutely incredible. I cannot recommend him enough as a reviewer.